Welcome back. If you have just joined us, you're watching Daybreak on the Rise News channel from our studios in Nigeria's capital of Abuja. And you're just in time to catch the paper review this Monday morning, the 4th of November. Helping us to do that, as it is customary, is the Rise News analyst, Constance Ikoko. Good morning. Great to have you here.
A very good morning to you, Adesua. How are you today?
Great, thank you.
Anandi, how was your weekend?
It was okay, thanks. Good morning, sir.
Okay, so to look at the newspapers today with us, we have Dr. Iyobosa Owoghiare. He is editor, Nation's Capital, of This Day newspaper. And on that note, we'll begin with This Day newspaper. World Bank projects oil glut in 2025, foresees price drop to $73 per barrel. World on edge as U.S. presidential election holds tomorrow. Dangote refinery to oil marketers: any imported petrol cheaper than ours is substandard. Atiku: FG should adopt my manifesto, and presidency says Nigeria would have deteriorated under you. And then Oando announces 60.3 billion naira profit for 2023 audited financials. This is an improvement from 2022. According to the company, it also says that this has been achieved in spite of operational problems. In the Niger Delta, CEO of Oando, Wale Tinubu, says the company achieved 12% increase in total production. I mean, when you think about it, I read this story again and again, just trying to wrap my head around it. 60.3 billion naira profit for 2023. And you have a country where a lot of people are living below poverty line, a lot of children going to bed hungry, and you have just one company making this profit. You can imagine what other companies make, and then you wonder, why should anybody go hungry in a country like this? What is actually going on? Dr. Owoghiare.
Good morning. But I think it's an indication that Nigeria is still very fertile ground to do business, in spite of the several challenges we have, security challenges, infrastructure, and what have you. So it's an indication that if we get our things right in Nigeria, we are capable of investing more investors, we are capable of investing local investors.
All right, looks like we're having a bit of challenge with the audio of Iyobosa there. We'll get back to him while we'll continue the discussion. When you chose this particular topic to discuss, Constance, really I was wondering why this, but the angle you took it from made me relax a bit.
Okay,
yes, really,
please relax.
Yes, because I was wondering why you chose this topic.
Yes.
Because my initial thinking is what you have just said. How does this reflect on the life of the people of Nigeria? One report I read said about 14 million people since the advent of this administration are now in abject poverty. You're having, Iyobosa started well when he spoke about the fact that this is a fertile ground,
yes,
for business where you still make huge profit. But then at what expense are you making this huge profit? That's right. One. Secondly, how does this dovetail or affect the lives of the citizens in the country where you're making this profit? This is the big question, that the policymakers and then the people making the profit have got to answer.
And that's why I traveled over the weekend. For the first time in many, many years, I traveled by road from Abuja to Enugu. And I can tell you, when we were going, we went through Nasarawa, Benue, and then we were returning, we went through Benue, of course, and then Kogi State. And that's why 90% of the roads are not motorable.
90%.
I'm telling you, 90. It brought me back to the ground and gave me perspective about Nigeria. what is going on. It should be a crime not to have motorable roads in Nigeria, in an economy where you can have, you can make so much money. Do you understand what I'm saying, Adesuwa?
I agree with you, and I agree on that point. It should be a crime. But I mean, kudos to you, the brave Dr. Okoko traveling by road.
Why not?
Why not?
We used to do that. I mean,
I
there are
still
stories,
do.
and of course, people still do that. And when you look at the cost of traveling these days, even by air,
Yes.
For a middle class that has been eroded, you see that a lot of people
Thank you,
don't
you
have
put the word eroded.
that have been eroded. A lot of people don't have much of that option than to fall back to the roads.
Yes.
But you recall why a lot of people opted not to travel in the first place by road.
Yeah.
Security, and of course the motorable states,
Yeah.
or lack of it, of the roads in the first instance. And so, so it's that striking that balance when government says they are spending and they are borrowing for infrastructure development. Then you ask, what are the priorities? Where are the infrastructure that we are putting in place with these borrowed monies? We are in so much debt when it comes to borrowing, and we say these monies are for infrastructure. Where are they?
And you remember, we're doing the Lagos Calabar. We're paying 8 billion compensation to people, and yet all these roads in Nigeria, are in terrible state. I mean, for me, it was very interesting. It was good to now understand what people face every day. And you wonder how the transport companies make money. Because you ply those roads for 1 month, your vehicles are wrecked.
And then you remember, I remember him clearly talking about airports, that states engaging, and you're wondering...
White Elephant Project.
What is the benefit? Yeah. All right, I think we have Iyobosa back. Iyobosa.
Okay, let's go to Punch newspaper,
Punch.
then we'll bring in Dr. Iyobosa. So look at Punch newspaper. FG projects 44 trillion naira revenue as reps oppose tax review. 4 marketers spend 833 billion naira on fuel import, according to a report. Northern governors, ACF, others demand minors release. North must wake up. Bala Mohammed charges the region. Sans defer on arraigned minors. The minors are facing trial for treason at the Abuja Federal High Court. It was related to the End Bad Governance protest. TV coverage over the weekend of this trial showing hungry-looking kids has sparked outrage. Others say only a child below 7 is incapable of committing a crime. Some say that children between 8 and 12 years should be capable of knowing the nature of what they are involved in, and that's why they are undergoing trial. Dr. Wogiaran, a lot of comments, opinions divided on this matter.
I think the Nigerian police force did further damage to the already battered human rights image of Nigeria. By the way, they arranged those minors last week at the Federal High Court in Abuja. And I saw it, and it was very offensive, obscene. And I saw children who were apparently hungry for days, and they were struggling for groundnut, water, yes, and what have you. So for me, it was a very bad image for Nigeria, especially from the global community. I think the Northern elders are right. I think what they should do is to find a way to make sure those guys are released on bail. And if they still have any case against them, well, they should be given opportunity to defend themselves in court. But I must say that based on what the Attorney General said last week, it appears that in the next few days, I'm sure the Attorney General will, use his power as the chief law officers of this country to either continue with the case or discontinue with the case. But for me, I think what happened last week was very offensive.
And indeed, it is instructive what Governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed, says. Let me quote him. He said, more than anything, it exposes the lack of good governance and the discordant voices that plague the North. But it's not even the North. I think this gives us an opportunity to talk about widespread failures at all levels, because, there is a reason why all those kids came out to protest, or there were also adults involved in this End Bad Governance protest, but it shows how much failure there is at the state level also, and that has to change.
Let's be clear. There are so many issues and angles to look at this thing. One, what the Bauchi State Governor has said is poignant. Question of governance that has to be looked into. The governor of Kano State has instructed the Commissioner for Justice and Attorney General to look into how you can get those kids out. You're asking for kids to pay 10 million naira as bail. Now that is, I do not have words to talk about it. And then law experts like Onaborua have come out to say, it's even against the law. You cannot arraign or put in prison or custody somebody who is a minor. You remember Senator Ndume saying that the president, he's blocked from knowing what is happening.
Right.
This begins to raise a point. I have kids.
Okay.
You know, they have children. I mean, I don't even know where we're coming from in this particular matter. It's really painful, it's annoying, it's heartbreaking. To say the least, you can't wrap your mind around it.
Okay, The Guardian newspaper. FG begins food import, may extend zero duty initiative timeline. They're looking at the front page of The Guardian. There are items there that will have zero duty. There's maize, beans, millet, wheat, husked brown rice, grain, sorghum. The waiver was approved in July, but was stalled due to bureaucracy. Now it's time to go. The timeline might be extended, as the government has said, to cover the lost time. Dr. Wogaran, what are your thoughts on this?
I think there's a lot of confusion about that policy. I remember when the president announced some months back, it was a stopgap measures, to lower the prices of goods in Nigeria, especially those consumable goods. But along the line, when some newspapers asked the Minister of Finance about the policy, I think the minister said at that time that he was not aware of that policy. So there's a lot of confusion. But if at all the policy is being implemented, I think they need to be very transparent about the whole thing and see how they can implement that policy effectively, because it was a stopgap measures while we are working on security situations that is affecting our local food production in Nigeria here. There was this popular view that federal government should import those goods in order to be able to crash the prices of those goods in the market. But I think the Ministry of Agric and the Ministry of Finance have not been very transparent in the way they are going about the implementation of the policies. So they should come out clean as far as this policy is concerned, so that we will know what they are doing right and what they are not doing.
And that's what this measure is supposed to help bring down the cost of food. I don't know whether this will help, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Like Dr. Wager has said this morning, the policy is shrouded in a lot of, apart from secrecy, which he has mentioned, it's shrouded in a lot of uncertainty. We are not sure what exactly is going on. Like you rightly said, the major reason why this policy was put in place as an interventionist one was to crash prices of food, but we haven't seen much of that. Because on the one hand, they do this, on the other hand, inflation comes and just swipes everything away. So it's making no sense. Over the weekend, The Guardian, according to this story, had a phone interview with the Minister of Finance, a chat interview, and where he talked about the policy and things they're going to do to refine it. So it does look like he has admitted that this policy is in place. However, when they asked him about the extension of the policy, he was mute. The Guardian is reporting that sources from the ministry, however, confirmed to them that the government is looking to extend this by another 150 days. Now, you recall when this interventionist initiative was announced months ago, stakeholders raised concerns. One about, the guidelines put in place, and secondly, this should not be a permanent solution, as it will affect, the farmers and agriculture policy put in place by the government. If you keep importing food, then what's happening to eat what we grow? Okay. Yeah.
Daily Trust, Presidency, Afenifere disagree over federal appointments. The Pan-Yoruba Socio-Cultural Group cautioned President Tinubu over what it described as a bias and preference for his ethnic group in federal appointment. It says this threatens inter-ethnic relationships and peaceful coexistence. The president has denied this, but it's a statement from Afenifere. In fact, They said specifically, and I quote, "Afenifere, we cannot fight several decades of Fulani hegemony only to support Yoruba or any other hegemony." Well, I guess Afenifere is right, Dr. Wogaren.
Yes, I think I saw Sunday Dare, the new special advisor on public communication to the president, trying to justify the appointment of some key security officers. But I think what the Afenifere is talking about is not just the appointment of security officers. It's talking about the entire appointment that the president has made in the last 20 months. We all agree, everybody agree, including some close aides of the president agree that the president has not been fair to some geopolitical zones. Now, if you look at the federal appointment, I'm not talking of the security agencies now, I'm talking of the federal appointment. A whole zone, I'm talking of the Southeast and perhaps the South-South, had been locked out from federal government appointment. So is either the South-South, is either the Southwest or the North that you are getting all these appointments for. But last week when somebody was talking about the key security officers coming from the Southwest or the South, Sonny Direct came up with a report where he was talking about, in an attempt to justify that, to say, oh, majority of these security officers came from the North. He included some paramilitary agency like civil defense, immigration, custom, and what have you. But I think on the whole, there's a general consensus that the president is not doing enough to accommodate the entire country as far as his appointments are concerned. And
Afenifere goes on to say that this is a continuation of President Muhammadu Buhari's style of governance.
I think it's even worse now. It's even worse.
It's unacceptable. We are pressed for time. Let's go to the international
I would
headlines.
have wanted to add a voice.
We're pressed for time. Let's let's go to the international headlines. Daily Graphic: AI fears ahead of December 7. Media watch to counter fake news. In a serious matter, such as national elections, there's worry that this could be used for misinformation and disinformation. And then Citizen, South Africa, jobs for PAUS, threat. There's still trouble in South African aviation industry, where whistleblowers say favoritism by CEO of National Air Traffic Services is a problem, as unqualified appointments with high salaries threatening aviation safety. The story further speaks of a garbled air traffic messages and delayed flights and planes disappearing from the radar for 30 seconds. That's scary and serious. The Daily Telegraph this morning: Trump attacks fake poll after late Harris surge. This election is still too close to call, but Trump says this latest poll that puts Harris ahead of him is fake, and the pendulum might swing anyway. We don't know yet. Ndi, your thoughts on that?
Oh, well. Were you talking about AI or just the fake polls?
Yes, the fake polls.
The fake polls.
Or you can comment on any of the stories.
All right. Well, let me talk about AI. Now, an expert says this. This is very alarming. An expert says he expects a tsunami of misinformation. A General Angus Campbell of Australia says we have entered an era of truth decay while misinformation will harm democracy. Elon Musk's takeover of Twitter has worsened misinformation and the use of social media by upending its verification systems, removed the team that fought disinformation, restored the accounts of conspiracy theorists and extremists previously banned, and generative AI is making it cheaper and easier to spread disinformation. And then the candidate of the Republican is not helping the matter by energizing his camp. Even before the elections, 75 million have voted already, that there is fraud, and then that the polls are not correct for as long as he's not leading or winning. Let me just stop there.
Yeah, The Guardian, you have a photo of the King of Spain, King Felipe, and more than insults thrown at him when he went to visit a flood hit by a town, Valencia, hit by flash flood. There they told him that he's abandoned them. What do you think about this? I mean, it's been catastrophic in Spain. Over 200 died from that flash flood.
Indeed, over 2,000 people are still missing after this flash floods. The death toll is now put at 217 and may continue to rise. A very shocking response the king and the queen got, but this is a region that feels obviously left out, and there seems to be a communication gap between relief given to them or sent to them by local authority and authority at the center. So you would imagine that anybody they see will have to incur the wrath of their anger. And unfortunately, that's what happened when, they had mud, insults, and cans thrown at the king.
Yeah.
It was royal heckling and booing over the weekend in Spain.
And Dr. Wugaren, in less than 30 seconds, your thoughts on any of the stories?
Yes, I just wanted to refer to the AI issues. Yes, I know that it will also come with its own negative aspect of it, but AI also has its own positive, especially when you use AI in generating storytelling in the newsroom. But that is not to say that it has its own problem too. But I think what Donald Trump is doing is, we shouldn't be shocked about what he's doing, is reusing the strategies he used in the last 4 years elections in the US. So trying to give the impression that if he's not the one, the election will not be free and fair. So I keep on saying Donald Trump will be a threat to the global community when it comes to democracy.
All right.
If he eventually win that elections. I think we need to be very careful. And the US citizens should be very careful.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm afraid that's the much that we have for the paper review this morning.
All right. That's what we'll call it today. Thank you so much, Yobosa and Constance. I am Ndi Amogo. Thank you for watching. The Morning Show is next.
Indeed, we'll soon find out who wins the U.S. election.
Polls
is Tuesday, tomorrow. And that's all from us. I am Adesua Omoran. Good morning.